anyone watching this video can relate to the concept of giving up on an anime? Just by mentioning it, I'll bet one immediately pops into your head, followed by all sorts of emotions. Today, I'm going to talk about the notable anime I've dropped for one reason or another, and I know for a fact I'm going to get a lot of hate for one of them. Rising of the Shield Hero. Of all the anime I'm going to talk about today, this one is the most tragic because it's a show I genuinely loved. Unfortunately, people handling it certainly didn't love me back. The fact that I don't care about it at all now is a travesty. I even made a video on it calling it the biggest collapse in anime, but that's their fault. Season 2 is actual garbage and one of the biggest drop-offs in quality I've ever seen, probably only trailing The Promised Neverland. Somehow, it's both extremely rushed while also managing to feel dragged out and boring as hell. How is that even possible? To put it simply, it's a poor imitation of everything that came before it. While Season 3 is better, it's dealing with better material to adapt and still ended up a generic boring isekai with no hook. Is there anything special about it that makes it stand out from the other 1,000 isekai series out there? In my opinion, no. The cast we once loved, completely neutered. Season 4, who cares? I know I don't. And trust me, saying that does not make me happy. Let's just move on before I start a rant that I can't stop. To Your Eternity. Like Shield Hero, To Your Eternity had an incredible first season. From The Boy, to March, to Gugu, I was as emotionally invested as you can get. The journey was going to be tragic, but my bags were packed. I was ready. Also like Shield Hero, it's on my top 10 list for best debuts to an anime ever. Unfortunately, in Season 2, the supporting characters aren't nearly as interesting early on, and the time jumps get ridiculous. Decades and generations pass within episodes. In concept, that's interesting, seeing how you'd navigate your immortality, constantly losing loved ones and watching the world evolving around you. In practice, not so interesting. All it does is make a lot of what you're watching really boring. You have no attachment to what's happening, and a much less interesting cast makes your interest wane. It's possible as Season 2 goes along it gets better. It does have pretty good aggregate scores, and I've heard rumblings that's the case, but they lost me a third of the way through the season, and that is not normal for me to give up. None of this is aided by the fact that To Your Eternity's last arc in Season 1 was the slowest of the season, and they had the dreaded studio swap, which has had at least some impact on the animation. Goblin Slayer. Goblin Slayer is an interesting one because it had such an insane buildup. That first episode was one of the most shocking things I'd ever seen, a truly jaw-dropping moment, and really set the stakes for the show going forward. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy Season 1. However, I realized that the further we get from that first episode, the more tame the series is. In Season 1, I still had that emotional attachment from that brutal start, but in Season 2, that faded away quickly. And it really didn't feel high stakes anymore. Considering that's the main thing it had going for it, with nothing else about the show really standing out, that's not good. Outside of Goblin Slayer himself, who is a good character and one I personally enjoy, the cast is largely forgettable. It's not awful, there aren't any Sakuras here, but no one is worth sticking around for either. As the stakes continue to feel diminished, amongst all the fantasy shows that come out, it really doesn't stand out or feel worth watching anymore. The plot is basic, but basic can work sometimes. Revenge stories usually work. Then again, killing goblins is only entertaining for so long, especially as it seems like the threat of them lowers each time we see them. You can't even say it's carried by visuals or score either, because those aren't particularly memorable. So yeah, I'm out on Goblin Slayer. I'm going to get a lot of shit for this next one, so I'll even offer up an olive branch. Make your case in the comments after the video, and we'll see if you can sway me. Hunter x Hunter. I know, blasphemous, right? Especially for a guy like me who loves Yu Yu Hakusho, which has the same mangaka. I just can't do it. Unlike others I've talked about, this isn't due to a massive drop in quality. This isn't because it teased something up front that it never met expectations for again. In fact, Hunter x Hunter was one of the first anime I watched back in 2011 or 2012 when I was just starting, and I watched somewhere around 60 episodes of it. It was solid, nowhere near what it was hyped to be, but it's not Dragon Ball GT or anything. That was as far as the platform that had the series at the time went, so I stopped and then forgot about it for a long time. Since then, I've heard repeatedly how amazing some of the villains are, especially Meruem, Meruem, I don't know how to say it, I haven't seen it. Let me say this, and I cannot be more clear. I've wanted to see that character for myself, and I've tried numerous times to restart the series. But for whatever reason, I never make it more than an episode or two in. I can't explain why, but I straight up don't care. I like Killua, I like Hisoka, Kurapika's cool. That's as true now as it was a decade ago. But I don't care about Gon in the slightest. Sorry, he sucks. And no matter how many times I try, I fail. Toguro is one of my all-time favorite villains, so I'm sorry, Meruem. I want to see you, truly I do, but I really doubt I ever will. Unless they end up redoing it to catch up with the manga that continues this year. If that happens, we'll see. What are some anime you guys dropped for one reason or another? Let me know in the comments, and with that, I'm out.